that I don't think anyone would ask, but it's one that I think is pretty important. What is the least important hat of all the different kinds of hats that you as an entrepreneur need to be wearing? All right, cool. So, for everyone that's tuning in, we are talking about as entrepreneurs the multiple hats that you got to wear. It's really tough being an entrepreneur. It's also a lot of fun. It can be very rewarding, but there's lots of work that goes into it. And as you grow as an entrepreneur, as you grow as a business person, as you grow as an individual trying to manage, either if it's your solo entrepreneur, your solopreneur adventure, your you're just a lifestyle company that you're creating, you still need to do various tasks in order for your company, your freelance gig, your business, whatever it is you want to call it, your baby, in order for that to continue to move forward, to grow, you're going to have to do various tasks. And those kind of tasks generally, they're not the same thing. They take different roles and different forms. And today, Jermaine and I are talking about how to manage those different roles and what you can do to maybe do it a little bit better. Jermaine, welcome.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everyone. I was looking forward to this one. Must
Okay.
be honest.
Yeah.
You had me thinking on Thursday when we wrapped up week 3. I was almost jumping out of my seat because this is the one I was waiting for.
Nice.
Because I think, as all business owners, everyone who started out, this is the one thing that probably we all have in common. All startups. I remember every time we sign a client up or we register a new business, we always tell the client, go do your thing, focus on what you're good at, and then in a couple of months you come back, we sit around the table. But what we're actually telling the client is, you got to have an appreciation for your numbers. So you're almost wearing an accounting hat. You wear the leader of the company hat. You HR. You wear all these different kind of hats. So yeah, Richard, looking forward to this one.
Yeah, cool. So let's kick off with probably the question that I don't think anyone would ask, but it's one that I think is pretty important. What is the least important hat of all the different kinds of hats that you as an entrepreneur need to be wearing?
Oh wow, that's that is a difficult one, Rich. The least important.
So I'll tell you my perspective and why I asked that question is
Okay.
because I think that one of the problems that I got into was that I thought that every hat I put on was important. So the CEO hat, the strategy hat, the finance hat, the HR hat, uh, the the problem solver hat, the recruiter hat, the social media hat, the marketing hat. Out of all those hats, there were some of them that just were not important. And the way that I think about this concept of the least important hat, it's what do you need to get done today, tomorrow, and this week?
Okay.
Because your least important hat can change from week to week. For example, if you need um, let's say it's month end, you need to get paid, you've got a couple of
Mm.
invoices outstanding, the least important hat is the hat that's got nothing to do with finance, debtors, and getting paid.
100%.
And so
100%.
yeah, and so the least important hat is a evolving hat. It's not just a static always it's least important. It's what's happening
Mm.
in your business right now that something becomes the least important hat. So don't focus on your marketing, social media when you are
Mm.
trying to get paid. You're trying to get invoices paid. You're trying to follow up with clients. Hey, what's going on? What's happening with this payment? When can we expect it? Is there anything that I need to do to make sure that this payment can get settled on time? Anything that challenges that, it's the least important hat. You've got to be focused on those things that you're trying to achieve in a particular week. That's kind of how I thought of the the least important?
Well, yeah, that's good. I mean, it's almost like you go. I mean, you're making me think here now. You sort of go through the journey of the month. And then obviously, the closer you get to certain milestones, those particular hats is of more relevance than your other hats. In the example that you just made now.
Mm.
So that's a very good analogy.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I was just gonna say, you, I don't think I can top your, your example, Richard.
Come
But
on, man.
I was just gonna say, when we started our journey, marketing. Marketing wasn't for us wasn't that important hat to where we were. It was at the forefront, but it wasn't something that we went, okay, we need a marketing budget and we need this. I mean, we were quite fortunate in a way that we had a lot of referrals, word of mouth, etc., etc. But obviously, as the business grew, that hat became more and more relevant to the point now where, yeah, that hat just doesn't leave my just doesn't leave my head at the moment, because I found it very so I didn't think that would have been a strength of mine. I'm still learning the ropes when it comes to it, but I'm enjoying the process, that particular hat. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's pretty important. I think maybe what some of the sort of newer entrepreneurs or those growing their business don't understand what the core hats are. Do you have a core set of hats, or and when we're saying hats, these are really just business functions that
Functions.
need to happen. What would your thoughts be on what are the sort of key hats that people need to focus on their business into sure sustainability and growth? I mean, you brought up one now, which is pretty important: marketing.
Rich, I think I touched on it earlier. So initially, and let me make the example for the guy, and I think you said it now, that just starts up. Right? I think a lot of the times new businesses start out, they always think they need that accountant from, and maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot here for new business, but they always think, no, day one I need to have an accountant. Not really. I would say find your feet. Go find your feet first. For me to answer your question, I would say your finance hat and your sales and marketing, your customers. If you can zone in on that and make sure you got that journey nailed, then I think everything else will start flowing after that.
Yeah.
Because you can start making you can start dipping your fingers into the other hats, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, so normally, I look at it from a sort of the pillars of a business.
Yeah,
You've got your people matters.
yeah,
If you are
yeah.
staffing people, or if you even using freelancers, you've got to understand that agreements that you have with freelancers and managing their
Mm,
deliverables, or whether you are
mm,
insourcing or hiring people
mm,
directly. So people
mm,
matters over there. That's kind of one of the pillars and one of the hats that you need to wear. Um,
mm,
and then it's finance. Finance is super important. Without the money, nothing flows. There's no flow, and finance
mm,
is the flow of your business. It'll manage all
mm,
of those things.
mm.
Operations would be kind of the thing that you make, whether it be a service that you're providing,
Yes.
time,
Yeah. Mm,
consulting, or marketing, or whatever that you're doing. That would be kind of your third pillar, your third hat. That's the super
yeah.
important for you to wear. And then the fourth one, which is the bundle of sales and marketing, as Jermaine has just discussed. So that for me are the four primary pillars that hold up any business. Of course, there's other hats that come
Yeah.
with it. So
Mm.
within sales and marketing would be social media,
Media. Yeah.
presence and stuff like that. So that is
Mm,
important. It takes a different mindset.
mm,
A growth, knowledge, attending seminars and stuff like that. That's obviously important.
mm.
CEO mode is another hat that kind of, if you think of those four hats that I described being the four pillars that you have, something's got to bring it together, and that's the big hat, the overarching hat, and that is the
Top hat.
CEO hat. Um,
Yeah.
and that's I think pretty important. One of the things that I've found over the years of running a business is that it was very difficult for me to switch between an operational sort of hat, an operational task and delivery. Let's say, from 8 till 11, I'm busy on operational stuff. I'm coding, I'm creating, I'm designing, I'm architecting something in data. Um, and then I take a short break and have a coffee. And then at 12:30 jump into, okay, cool, what is the strategy for us to make ourselves more visible in the marketplace, or what should we do with our products, or how should we go about attacking a market, or who should our client be? That's a CEO hat. And I'm like, I almost found it impossible. I had to like go do something completely different, break away from my
Mm.
my actual business task, get away from my desk, get away from my working environment, do something
Mm.
non-work, and then maybe let those thoughts, the
Thoughts.
CEO thoughts,
Yeah, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
sort of, simmer there, simmer, and I'd
Yeah,
start to
yeah.
have ideas, and then I'd get back to CEO mode an hour
Mm.
or two later,
Yeah.
because the mindset is so different in that mode that it's impossible to just switch from the one to the other.
Mm.
Like, it's something doesn't have, the
Yeah.
brain doesn't like it.
Mm.
At least that's what I found. I don't know if you found anything
No,
different, Jermaine.
totally. No, no, no. You've. So that's a very important point that you just made. Now, I mean, for a long time, up until that point where we did the split, I find it very difficult in terms of just the energy it takes to just start you operations, you having to make decisions. It's like you said, you almost have to do something completely different
Mm.
to kind of get that juices flowing, basically. So yeah, I
Yeah.
can't agree with you more.
So out of all the customers and the different, because you interact with a lot of different businesses, you're dealing with the CEOs and the managing directors and the owners of businesses. What are some of the attributes that you see them employing when they trying to deal with wearing multiple hats?
Yeah, a lot of them, I think a lot of them are still, they still wear pretty much all that still. It's yes, they got staff, um, but I think it's also mindset, Richard, where they don't want to almost give a hat away. It's not like they don't trust the person. It's always just been them. Throughout this whole journey of them being entrepreneurs, it's always been them, and they trust their staff, but they trust themselves more. So it's funny you ask that question because if I think about the roster, the client roster, they and pretty much all of them wear those hats. I cannot think of, there's probably a handful that kind of took one hat off and said, right, you run with it. Most of them still deal with operations, still deal with HR, still deal with, and I think what they do with us, how they view us is they view us as the HR, finance,
Mm.
the other pillars like you mentioned earlier. So they see style as that other hat for them.
Mm.
So yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that we all, as entrepreneurs, we make that mistake where we think we have to wear all the hats all the time, and we don't know
Mm,
when to let go. I think for 2 years I did everything in the business, and I had an accountant, but I never ever phoned him. I didn't even know what the process was. I didn't know you had to submit, returns or annual returns. I didn't know how to do anything, and that was when it was just me. um,
mm,
and it was only once I met Alan, and then later on yourself, where I started to
mm,
understand the different things that you needed from a finance perspective. It says, oh, cool, I gotta submit things to SARS. I've gotta, like, cool, if your revenue reaches a certain point, you gotta register for VAT.
mm.
You've gotta, there's all these things that you gotta do, and unless you are surrounded by other people, by a peer group,
Yeah,
you're not gonna
100%.
know how to
Mm,
to deal with these things. You're not gonna
mm,
know what needs to be done. You're gonna kind of
mm,
be, it's gonna feel like you're on this hamster wheel, and you're never getting anywhere. And that's the problem. That's why you firstly, I think managing the multiple hats, here's one good hack. Get friends that are also entrepreneurs that have grown a business, become friends with them or reach out to them and connect or watch programs like this where we discuss the
Mm,
different topics so you can
mm,
sort of, you
mm,
don't have to take action always right away, but
mm.
it allows you a scope of understanding there's so much more that is part of running a business. There's such a lot of admin of running a business.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not just the what you think it is. It's not just the, like we've discussed before, the I'm great at making clay pots, so I'm gonna be a clay pot maker. You've also got to be able to sell that clay pot. So there's other things that goes into it as well,
Mm,
and
mm,
so it's about having that network of people like we do with each other. We have a network of people and other
mm,
entrepreneurs that we talk to and we engaged in, that
mm,
makes it easier, you
mm,
know when you start to work with other people in your business, when you start to release some of that time that you're spending on tasks, like we discussed in some of the other episodes, is that when you give away a task, a set of tasks that's probably not your most favorite things to do, you are actually opening up a network for yourself, whether you go through a virtual assistant, or whether you go through hiring someone, or whether you actually outsource it to a partner. You are broadening your network, your reach, that you can, when you need something, you can say, hey, do you know a person that can do this? Do you know someone that can do that? Like, that also helps. And that is a way for you to maybe retire a hat, or make that hat a little bit lighter for you to wear.
100%.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Mm,
yeah.
100%. Can't agree with you more, Richard.
So, I mean, we talk about all these hats, and again, a lot of it is necessary for you to win as you grow in as an entrepreneur. It is necessary. But do you think there's a time to stop wearing the hats or to put the hats away? What is your take?
Mm. These questions are getting tougher. um, I'm going to say, I'm probably the one person, if you had to ask me this question a year back, I would probably tell you, you need to hold on to those hats for as long as you can, right? But I quickly realized that, no, I think for your business to survive and be relevant and just to be present, you have to have, yes, your vision is still there and your vision changes as you go, but you have to be able to allow to tap into other people's uh, mindsets, for example. If that means handing over that sales and marketing hat to another person or another company or another partner, then that's what you got to do. Because as like you said, Richard, businesses can do that, and then they can quickly plateau out because either the owner runs out of steam because he wears too many hats. So it's just about being relevant. So I would say, yeah, you have to start. I think it's important that you try and release some of that. I wouldn't call it a burden. I think a burden is it's a bit of a harsh word,
Yeah.
but I almost think we have to go sort of through all those paths to kind of come right back to the start and say, okay, fine, I got that experience now. So where do we go now?
So,
So
so,
yeah.
so you're saying that, like, no matter what advice you can give to people, they still have to walk the journey themselves.
Uh, it's still up to the individual. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we can equip them with our experiences, but it's still up to them to walk that journey, use those elements that we as entrepreneurs can give to them, and then make the decision because they might get to a crossroads at some point, and then work it out for themselves. Where if they didn't have that necessary knowledge that they acquired from partners or other service providers or fellow entrepreneurs, then they might it might have a different outcome. But if they're equipped with that knowledge, then it might be a decision that's beneficial to their business.
Mhm. Yeah, so I tend to agree with that point of view. So it's well, somewhat, because I think I did it as well, man. You know, people gave me great advice, and I'd be like,
Mm.
ah, yeah, yeah, maybe that's for you, but for me, it's
Yeah,
different because I'm so
different.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I, a little while back, I listened to the Joe Rogan show, and one of his guests on there was Duncan Trussell, and I mean the whole episode. I can't remember what episode it was. Maybe I'll link to it below in the
Mm.
description. But there was a part that he spoke about motivation, and he had the opportunity to visit with monks, and if you watch it, you understand it. But he tells a story, and it goes like this. He says he sits with this monk that does amazing, and the monk says to him, says, like, all you have is your mind today. All you have is you and the actions that you can take, and you can make different decisions,
Mm.
from today. Like just today you
Yeah.
can make some different decisions. So
Mm.
and it says that, I can sit here and I can levitate and I can move across the room and I can make bottles fly and all over, and then do some amazing things, and sit down and look at you and say, you know what, you should go jogging. And then I'd be amazed by that. And you go home and you think like, wow, this guy levitated across the room and he moved
Yeah.
bottles and shifted it around. He thinks I must go jogging. And you're like, ah, maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
So
I get it.
we
I get it.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, like what the external stuff doesn't actually matter. It's only what you have and what you're doing and the decision that you're making today that can make a difference, which is the same thing that I sort of was going through now when I was looking at that, my productivity and how to stay motivated.
Okay.
It was only because of the stuff that I was going through that I realized that, well, it's me. I must take the action. I mean, watching a motivational video isn't going to help me get the stuff done that I need to get done. I need to actually do the stuff. And so I started using what I did have, which was a project that I did for a client, connecting to the calendar and been sort of creating timesheets. I'm familiar with timesheets. I'm now worked as a consultant. So
Mm.
what it was able to do was, because I was cataloging all these things in my diary, in my calendar, I was also able to look at that calendar, and that visual stimulation was really amazing for me. I don't know if it will work for someone else, and I can tell them how
Yeah.
amazing it is. Like, wow, you should do this. It's going to change your life. But unless you actually do something that works for you, like, it's things are just going to stay the same. So in wearing the multiple hats, there has to come a time where you have to look at your peer group. It's probably the most important thing that's come out of this discussion about wearing hats.
Yeah.
It's it's you it's not just the hats that you wear, but the hats that others wear, that you
Others
need
way.
to tap into and connect with, to help you in your journey as a business person, and your
Mm.
journey in sort of, hopefully, not making all the mistakes that everyone else makes, just make fewer. You're
Fewer.
still gonna have to make
Yeah.
those mistakes. It's part of the learning, of course, but
Mm.
just try to make fewer of the
Mm.
unnecessary mistakes that we see. Jermaine, closing
Richard.
thoughts.
Brilliant. That that was a fantastic line that you just said there. I think don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think through the mistakes, you actually learn a lot more now. That might sound ridiculous, but yes, the successes is fantastic and you need to celebrate it. But you know, um, if you bump your head along the way, just pick yourself up, man, and learn from it so that you don't make that same mistake. And I guess that's part of the journey that we walk as entrepreneurs every day. So we constantly evolving, constantly learning. Yeah, and yeah, let's just walk this journey together.
Yeah. So, again, for from my perspective, as important as it is to wear these hats and to continue to stay motivated even when the music stops, I think that it's equally important to play the music, play different music, put your hats away and take a break. I've had days where, even though things were so busy, I'd be like, huh, I'm gonna spend time with my kid today. I'm gonna go, after school, we're gonna go walk around, we're gonna go to the park, we're gonna do something. And I've got two kids, or I'd spend time with my wife, we'd go for lunch, when I should be working. Because you always think that those, like, oh, I gotta get the work done, gotta get the work done. If you think about it, if you're in this for the long haul, like you said when we first met, when I first introduced, are you in it for the long haul? If you're in this business for the long haul, whatever your age is now, even if you, like, I'm 44 years old, hopefully I'll live till I'm 80. I've still got tons of years
Yeah.
left. So,
Yeah.
which means I'm kind of gonna be working every
Yeah.
day for
Yeah.
30 odd years. Like,
Yeah.
uh, what's taking a two
Take
hour
those breaks.
break? What's taking a 2 hour break? Go,
100%. 100%, Richard.
so it is realizing that you've got time, but also don't fall into the other trap where you are just taking breaks. You go like, hey man, I got 30 years, I got 40 years, I'll take a
Yeah.
break. And so you
Yeah.
eventually, like, it's been a week or 2 weeks and you haven't really made much progress. Be careful.
Progress. Yeah.
Have
Mm.
kind of something that helps you to manage that. And of course, the most important thing is don't try and do it on your own. Reach out to other people, they can help you as well. Jermaine, it's been
Well
amazing.
said.
And
Richard,
so,
thank you.
yeah, catch us next week where we will go into the topic of how to grow your network and reach out.
Oh, another one.
I just made that
Use.
up now. Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty important because, like, look, everything we've spoken about in
Yeah.
in in this conversation has been about, all the different hats that you wear and getting advice and the importance or what happens when you connect with other people, whether you're working with an outsourced partner or whether you're hiring someone or whether you're working with a VA. Like, it's someone else you can reach out when you don't have the answers, because you're never going to have all the answers, and it's
Yeah.
important to have a network that you can reach out. So Jermaine and I will come to you and talk about how you can reach out to other people, how you can grow your network doing
Simple.
simple things. Fantastic, Jermaine. It's been amazing.
Richard, thank you.
All right, cool, brother.
So I